So I've just been asked what is President Trump's one big beautiful bill, and why is it so unpopular in certain circles? 64% of the public view the bill unfavorably, while 35% support it. It's especially unpopular with independents, with non-MAGA Republicans, with Democrats. And I think most importantly, over 10 years, it is going to add 2.4 to $4 trillion to the national debt. It's a sort of reverse Robin Hood. It gives money away to the rich, and it deprives people of welfare. There are deep cuts, deep reductions to Medicaid and SNAP. They risk millions losing health coverage and food support, and the green energy cuts and incentives could eliminate up to 830,000 clean energy jobs. There are also fears about the deregulation involved in AI regulation. So, and that, of course, is widely unpopular. Elon Musk's objections to it boil down to three areas. First, he thinks it's a disgusting abomination. He thinks it's fiscally reckless, utterly insane and destructive, citing its multi-trillion-dollar cost. He calls attention to the deficit impact, agreeing with Senator Rand Paul's comment that the bill explodes the deficit. Secondly, there is harm to green tech and to jobs. Musk criticizes the elimination of electric vehicle incentives, which he says undermines Tesla. So it undermines his own business, personal. And he warns that the bill could destroy millions of jobs, especially those in clean energy and the electric vehicle sectors. Thirdly, he objects politically, and the decision to break from Trump, since he since founded the America First Party, which focuses on fiscal conservatism, reducing debt, and promoting green tech initiatives. And he's supported candidates like Thomas Massey and threatened to oppose or to fiercely punish politicians who back the great big beautiful bill. So to go into more detail about why this, or what this bill is actually proposing, and how it's ended up being presented in the first place. It's how did it even occur? Is one big beautiful bill, which I think is now called a big beautiful bill. It's a massive piece of legislation that President Trump has just signed quite early on in his second term in office. It's really the only achievement he's had so far. Everything else has been words, as Hamlet would say, words, words, words. And the name is deliberately grandiose. That's a sort of signature of Trump's political style. It combines many Republican policy goals into one single enormous plan, or one single enormous document, instead of separate smaller bills, which would be harder to get through. Trump wanted it seen as beautiful because in his worldview, it would lower taxes, reduce regulation, and strengthen the U.S. border, particularly for rich people. Critics call it a kitchen sink bill because it packs in so many unrelated measures. In short, it's a single giant law meant to deliver on Trump's promises about taxes, immigration, welfare cuts, defense spending, and cultural priorities that he's identified. By passing one big bill in America, it's often easier than politically than negotiating lots of smaller bits of legislation. It uses a special Senate rule called budget reallocation, or budget reconciliation, which allows Republicans to bypass the usual 60-vote threshold and pass it with a simple majority. And Trump also wanted a dramatic signature achievement to showcase his power, unify his party, particularly after 150 odd days when he's achieved absolutely nothing. Trump and the Republicans agreed that the bill would do about 7 things. Make permanent the 2017 tax cuts that he'd already initiated that were only temporary, cut government spending on welfare, dramatically increase border security funding, even if it wasn't actually going to build the great big beautiful wall, increase defense spending, roll back environmental regulations, promote conservative cultural symbols. Is that 7? I don't know. And so funding monuments and patriotic education. But there are. I think the bill is led by tax policy, by the Trump's 2017 tax cuts were supposed to expire. This bill makes them permanent. It allows workers to deduct tips and overtime from taxable income. It raises the state and local tax, that's the SALT deductions, from to $40,000 for most taxpayers. It helps upper middle income households. It creates new tax advantaged Trump savings accounts, TSAs, like retirement accounts, but with more flexible rules. It enhances child tax credits and offers an auto loan interest deduction for families. So the goal is to put more money in people's pockets to boost spending, make Trump's tax policies permanent. Then it boosts the immigration and border security apparatus. It gives the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, that's ICE, over $100 billion compared to the $10 billion that it had previously. So it seriously funds that particular organization. It gives another $46 billion to fund the border wall construction and upgrades there. It dramatically extends detention beds for migrants with up to 100,000 beds. It increases fees for asylum application and funds new technology for tracking and deported undocumented migrants. So the goal here is to reduce undocumented migration, to deter new arrivals through enforcement and physical barriers. Then there's, in terms of the welfare cuts and the healthcare, it imposes work requirements for Medicaid. That's the government health insurance for the poorest. It cuts federal Medicaid spending by hundreds of billions over 10 years. There's a sharp reduction in food stamps, that's SNAP. And it bans any federal funding for Planned Parenthood or related reproductive health organizations. So again, promoting personal responsibility according to supporters, but according to the detractors, reducing the support for welfare. In terms of defense spending, there's a $150 billion increase in defense spending, which includes funding for drones, hypersonic missiles, naval expansion, cyber defense, and veterans care, and to strengthen the US position in response to growing threats from Russia or from China. In terms of energy and environmental policy, which is an area which I suppose Musk is particularly concerned about, it reduces green energy tax credits, it expends tax incentives for oil and gas drilling, and it rolls back a lot of the Biden-era environmental regulations, so promoting fossil fuel production and reducing federal spending on clean energy. There's cultural and symbolic measures involved, including funding a National Garden of American Heroes, a sculpture park for U.S. historical figures, and sets aside money for patriotic educational grants. It bans certain DEI requirements in federal contracts as diversity, equality, and inclusion. So again, a conservative vision of American history and values. How did Trump get this passed? Well, the bill uses this reconciliation in the Senate thing, only needing 51 votes and the vice president's tiebreaker if needed. And it passed the House of Representatives by a narrow majority, 2018 to 2014, 218 to 214. And it unified Republicans despite internal tensions, Trump using threats and rewards to secure votes. And Democrats were unanimously opposed to the bill. Supporters say it will boost the economy by cutting taxes and regulations. It makes Trump's tax cuts permanent, giving businesses security. Businesses like security and certainty. It secures the border, stopping more illegal immigration. It reduces government dependency by cutting welfare. It strengthens the military in a dangerous world and promotes patriotism and American values. There will be, of course, a massive increase in the national debt, cuts to health and food support. Experts predict 10 to 12 million people will lose Medicaid because of this bill. And the harsh immigration policies are widely seen as inhumane. Critics say it's Trump's power play forcing Republicans to accept an extreme agenda in one vote. Will it be successful? That largely depends on what you mean by success. Will it have legislative success? Yes, it passed. Trump got what he wanted. Political success? That's a much more uncertain question because polls show that it is already unpopular with voters. It may hurt Republicans in the 2026 midterms. Will it be economically successful? Well, there are mixed predictions. In the short term, tax cuts may boost spending and growth, but in the long term, high deficits risk inflation and higher interest rates. Will it be socially successful? Critics predict higher poverty, worse health outcomes, more conflict over immigration. So, in the final analysis, Trump's big, beautiful bill is radical. It will reshape taxes, spending, and immigration and culture in one fell swoop. It's politically polarizing. It's economically risky. It's socially consequential. It will shift resources away from welfare and health towards security and bigger conservative projects. It's sweeping. It's controversial. It's a deeply partisan package, and its ultimate success depends on whether Americans come to see its benefits as worth the costs, economically, socially, and politically.